Hello and welcome back to Matt Hayes Tottenham blog and to another transfer live stream. There's a lot of news for us to get through today. There's a lot of news came out yesterday. I wasn't able to live stream, but there's a lot to talk about with Giovani Lo Celso and some possible developments with his move to Tottenham. There's also a bit of news that may suggest the Ryan Sessegnon deal might not actually be happening this summer. So I'm going to talk a bit about that as well. We've also heard more things about Paulo Dybala and the futures of Danny Rose and possibly George, Kevin and Kudu. So before I get started into the video, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, what I do here is I do daily transfer talk videos or interactive live streams throughout the transfer window, and I do in-depth match reviews whenever we do play. So if you want to get some of that content, subscribe down below and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload a video. So this is something I do quite a bit, trying to get the viewers' opinions on board rather than just myself, and I feel like it's a good way to start more discussions about what's going on at the club. So as I said, if you do want that, subscribe to the channel down below. Now, so just while we're waiting for some more viewers to get in, I'm just going to remind you we'll be talking about Lo Celso, Ryan Sessegnon, Paulo Dybala, Danny Rose, and I'm also actually going to be previewing the game against Real Madrid that's coming up later today. So I suppose to get started, we heard quite a bit about Giovanni Lo Celso yesterday. So the first thing that kind of suggested something might actually be happening there is Lo Celso put up a post on his Instagram story with a picture. I think it might have been him with the Betis fitness coach or trainer at the club, and he said with the caption in Spanish, thanks for everything, teacher." So that kind of does feel like a bit like a goodbye post, but of course we don't know if it is Tottenham he's going to be going to. We hope it is, and I suppose we assume that it is, but there's no confirmation of that yet. Now I say that because yesterday it did surface that apparently Napoli were interested in signing Giovanni Lo Celso, and apparently they'd agreed a deal to sign him. Now, I think it was Calcio Mercato who said Napoli immediately refuted those claims, and they said they're not interested in him at all. Now I do believe it to some extent that it might be someone Napoli are looking at, because they've missed out on their main transfer target now, Nicolas Pepe, who's a very similar attacking player who's going to join Arsenal. So I do think it could be a player that Napoli are looking into signing, but I'm not sure how true it is or how advanced that deal might be if they are in talks with Real Betis. It could also be a tactic by Betis to maybe make Daniel Levy push up his bid for the player a bit more. I don't know. I hope it is that they're just trying to get Levy to pay more, but because of how quickly Napoli refuted those claims, it may look a bit like desperation on Betis' part, and they might end up having to drop the price a bit more because of what they tried. But look, I don't know what it is. Napoli could be interested, like I said, but I do think because of how much Lo Celso wants to play with Mauricio Pochettino and come into the Premier League and things like that, I think it'll be too good of an opportunity for him to turn down. And I think if Tottenham and Betis can come to an agreement, which feels like it's close, I imagine there's no reason why he wouldn't choose Tottenham. And there are a lot of reports claiming that we could sign him either today or tomorrow. I mean, it would have been better to get this deal done a lot earlier in the window, and I think Pochettino would have wanted them at his new signings at latest to be playing in today's game against Real Madrid in the Audi Cup, but of course then that's not going to happen. But look, if we get the deal over the line, I know it's not, like I said, he's not going to get into the pre-season setup as much. He's not going to be perhaps up to Poch's fitness standards when the season starts, but he's a great player and it's a good player to get into the team. So I do think Lo Celso will join us, and it's only a matter of time. And Finn here saying, do you think we will announce anyone this week? And I think we will. I think Giovanni Lo Celso will complete his move this week. Now, I also thought Ryan Sessegnon would, and of course I made a video on Sunday saying that they will be confirmed this week, and I suppose at the time it did feel like that, but now it's looking like the Ryan Sessegnon move might be held off until next summer. And I say that because Scott Parker made those comments on Saturday or Sunday, and he said that he sees Sessegnon coming back into pre-season training with Fulham. Now immediately the media started portraying that as Scott Parker said Ryan Sessegnon will be at Fulham for this season, and the way he said it didn't really seem like he was saying he thinks Sessegnon will be a part of the squad for this season. It just felt like he said he is injured but he will be back in training before the season starts. Now I think that signing of a left back would have heavily depended on the future of Danny Rose, and we all know Rose was left out of that pre-season tour of Asia to pursue a move away from the club, but Pochettino said if when they return from Asia, Danny Rose is still at the club, he will be part of his plans going forward, and of course that is the case. And in the squad announcement yesterday for today's game against Real Madrid, Danny Rose is part of that squad. And I think that's a big sort of indication about where he's at now, and it looks like he may actually be staying at Tottenham for the season ahead, which personally I think is great news. He's never a player I wanted to leave the club. I think out of those three potential left backs we had in Rose, Davis and Sessegnon, I think Rose is the better of those options. He's a player who obviously knows our team so well. He knows our the style of play, and of course he knows the philosophy because he's been there for so long. He's been there for the entirety of Pochettino's time at the club, and I think he's probably the best choice we have in that left back position going forward. And it looks now like that's going to be the case. Another suggestion that maybe that Sessegnon deal is off is that George Kevin Nkudu, who's apparently a part of that bid that Tottenham made to Fulham, he's also in the squad for today's game against Real Madrid. So it was supposed to be, I think, £20 million plus Anima and Nkudu, but of course, as I said, that depended on Rose's departure. It looks like he's going to be staying, and it looks now like Pochettino's trying to get Nkudu into the squad before the start of the season. So unfortunately, I do think that Sessegnon deal is off, but I do think it is only a matter of time before he ends up at Tottenham, because there is only 1 year left on his contract, and I mean he doesn't want to sign a new contract. He rejected an offer this summer, so it looks like he does want to leave the club. And I think from Fulham's point of view, it is a bit strange that they would not sell him this summer, because they run the risk of letting him go for free next summer. And while he may end up signing a contract just to boost the value and to, you know, for Fulham, because obviously it's a team he cares about, he might do that just to get a bit more money from the deal. But I think it's strange from Fulham that they are running the risk of losing him for free next summer, and I do think that we will sign him, if not January next summer. So I think it's only a matter of time before he ends up at Tottenham. But for this season, I would say Danny Rose is the best option, and maybe this is a good thing that has happened now. Del Boy saying I'll take a year older Sessegnon for free, and I suppose that's what it's looking like now at the moment. That is a much better deal than 20 million and two players just to get him for free, when he's a bit more development, a bit more first team game time under his belt. But Anima, who was supposed to be part of that deal, it does look like he will be joining Fulham in a separate deal, in a permanent deal. So he was at their game, I think it was Saturday, they were playing a pre-season game at Craven Cottage, and Josh Anima was there, and that kind of suggested to us that the Sessegnon deal had advanced a lot, and Anima was expecting to join Fulham, but maybe now it was a separate deal that's been agreed there, and he will move on to Fulham this summer. Now Ishak saying and Napoli want to get him as well. That's Giovanni Lo Celso, as I was saying. They were interested. Apparently they were interested, but according to Calcio Mercato, that interest was immediately refuted by Napoli, and it doesn't look like they are interested in signing Lo Celso this summer. Well, not as interested as Tottenham are, and the deal certainly isn't as progressed as what we believe the Tottenham deal is. Ishak as well saying it's been said that Spurs won't spend over €50 million for Lo Celso, and Napoli want to get him. I think it's £50 million is the thing there. It's a bit different, of course, and that's because we don't really have to, because of all the different things that are going on with Betis and the different clauses in Lo Celso's contract. It could only take a bit of about that much to get him to Tottenham, and because he's a player that wants to leave, of course that immediately takes away a lot of Betis' negotiating tactics and what they can use to try and get the deal down. As I've been saying a lot, there is apparently a clause in Lo Celso's contract that if Betis reject an offer worth more than double what they signed him for, so it's about £21.7 million that they signed him for, but I suppose taking different potential add-ons into consideration, a bid of about £50 million should be enough to get him to Tottenham. And as I said, that post he put up on Instagram saying thank you for everything to one of the coaches at Betis, it does feel like he will be leaving Betis, and the only likely destination for him at the moment does look to be Tottenham. 13th Monkey saying the fact Levy hasn't got Poch's number 2 target Lo Celso says a lot. I think it is a bit frustrating when it's happened this window, because it promised so much at the start, and we had so much expectations, and I know there were some people who were saying no, it's going to be the same as usual, but then like we made that Ndombele signing, which no matter how the window was gone, you can't underestimate the importance of that, not only as a player in our squad but as a statement from Levy and what the club is going to be like going forward. And while I would like to see more players in, I'd love to see Lo Celso sign. I do think he will, and I think we do need 1 or 2 more first team players, say in this summer and January. I fully agree with the transfer strategy that is at the club, which Levy and Pochettino have both said they fully believe in, and that's that they're not going to buy players for the sake of it. They're going to buy players that they absolutely know will 100% improve the first team, and there's no point in going out and spending money on players just for the sake of it, just to make the fans happy, or just to make you look like a bigger team. Like Manchester United, since Sir Alex Ferguson left, has spent over £800 million on players, and at the moment it looks like they're going to sign Harry Maguire for about 70 or 80 and Bruno Fernandes for another 60 or 70, so that could bring them up to nearly £950 million spent in the 6 years since Sir Alex Ferguson have left. And what have they won? I mean, they've won a Europa League, they won a League Cup and a Community Shield, I think. Not a Community Shield. They've won a lot of small trophies. For £950 million, that's not at all a position a club should be in. And looking at us in that time, what like our net spend, I'd be surprised if it's exceeded £150 million. And we're in a much better position now than Manchester United. So buying for the sake of it, you might as well not buy at all, because you're just wasting money and you're not getting in players that are going to benefit the squad. 13th Monkey saying, sorry, but how can anyone 100% guarantee a player will be good? Well, you can't guarantee that they'll be good, but I suppose what I meant was they're not going to buy a player just because the fans want him or he's available for a bit of money and you want to make a statement. You want to identify places in your squad that you know need to be improved, like Pochettino has this summer in a fullback and adding depth at attacking midfield, and buying a player, not just buying the best player in that position for as much money as you have to, actually looking at all the different options that you have and seeing, okay, this player is good at this, this and this player is good at this, this and this, what fits better into what we want in our team. And I think Lo Celso has been identified because of the quality that he has, first and foremost. Secondly, because he's at a team like Real Betis now, who've missed out in European football. He's a player who wants European football, but also it's put Betis in a bit of a difficult financial situation, so maybe they see that as a deal where they can knock a few £1 million off. But also because of the different attributes that he has, he fits into our team really well, not only in that attacking midfield role, but he can also play a bit deeper as a box-to-box midfielder. So that versatility is also going to benefit us a lot. So it's really important that instead of just going out and spending 50 million on the first player you see, like it seems that Manchester United are doing, you take your time and you only buy players that will improve your squad. And at the end of the day, that's a much better tactic than what's going on at Manchester United at the moment. And I suppose by the looks of it, Arsenal, because as Jace was here saying, their attack, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Pepe, is unbelievable. It's a really strong attack, and it's one that, I mean, wasn't it one of them had the joint golden boot last season. But look at their defence. Like, there's what do they have in their defence that suggests any bit of quality, any bit of defensive solidity? Like, sure, if they sign Kieran Tierney, that would be a good signing. But at the moment, the three centre backs they have are Socrates, Holding, and Mustafi. It looks like they're going to have to let Koscielny go. But they're going out and with a budget of apparently £50 million, they're spending £70 million on Pepe, and they spent £15 million on a loan deal for Ceballos. And then the only centre back they actually brought in for £30 million, they've loaned back to Saint Etienne. So that's the difference between Tottenham and the rest of these teams in the Big Six. It's not that we don't spend or we're not willing to spend. It's that when we do spend, we spend smartly. And I think that's the difference. And that's why it can get frustrating as fans when you're looking at Arsenal making these signings, you're looking at United making the signings they're making, and we've only made one. But I think our one signing is going to be more beneficial to our team as a whole than what the 3 or 4 Arsenal are making going to be as beneficial to them, because they're not identifying the problem in their team and they're not improving it there. So I think that's why we shouldn't get angry at Levy too quickly. Like, sure, if we get to the end of the window and he hasn't brought Lo Celso in, or if we don't get any more signings by the end of the window, well, then I'll be frustrated and I'll probably think, you know, Levy's made a massive mistake and it could cost us one of the best managers in the world in Pochettino. But at the moment, because there's still 9 days left, personally, I don't think we should be getting too upset about it just yet. Tottenham Reese saying, can you please give me your opinions on Troy Parrott? Poch said he's going to get game time. Personally, I think Troy Parrott is a massive prospect for the future. I mean, those performances he put in against Juventus and Manchester United, specifically that first game, he was absolutely outstanding, and playing his first professional game against a defence of the stature that Juventus have, obviously a first team defence they put out, I think he showed a lot of talent, and he had that pace and he had the awareness that you wouldn't really expect from a player, not only that early in pre-season, but that I suppose in his first professional game like that, playing against the players he was. And actually Tottenham Reese has a good video on his channel if you want to go over and check it out after this. It's a kind of an edit of Troy Parrott, his best passes, goals and skills and stuff. It's a really good video. Ishak here saying the game against Real Madrid is live on ITV4. That's true. If you're looking to watch that game, it's live on ITV4, I think starting at 4:45, and then kickoff is at 5 p.m. OJN saying apparently Van Dijk is telling Tierney not to go to Arsenal. Well, I haven't heard that, but I suppose from a Premier League player's point of view, Van Dijk I'm sure would have had a relationship with Tierney because they're both Celtic players. I suppose it would make sense because Arsenal seem to be a team who are not doing very well at the moment. They're not particularly on the up, so that could be a thing, and I suppose it's good advice from Van Dijk because Arsenal, as I said, not a team who are doing very well at the moment. Now also there's a bit of an update on Gareth Bale, and again I know he's not a target for us. I don't think he'll be signing, but as someone who was in the hearts of so many Tottenham fans when he was at the club. I do think it's interesting and something that I would want to talk about. So his move to China, he was supposed to be joining Jiangsu Suning for on a free transfer from Real Madrid for £100 million a week, but that has fallen through. I'm not really sure why that did happen, but it's definitely a deal now that 100% won't be happening, because when the Chinese league kind of started dominating the transfer window and bringing all these amazing players, the CSL actually made a rule where you can only have a certain amount of foreign players in your team to try and stop that dominance that they were having in getting all these big players. So Jiangsu had one place left in their squad, and when that Bale deal fell through, they signed a Croatian striker called Ivan Santini. So that move is definitely over. And as for Bale going to any other Chinese team, that's looking highly unlikely, because the window in China closes tomorrow. So Bale is in a really difficult situation now. In the last hour or so, there has been another few updates from Sky Sports. The Real Madrid hierarchy have said that they think the relationship between Zidane and Gareth Bale is beyond retrieval. They think it's completely destroyed, and as I said, it's just irretrievable at this stage. As for him leaving the club this summer, it's not looking likely, because his wages at Real Madrid, he's on about £600,000 a week, and Real Madrid, when Jiangsu were interested, they were willing to let him go for free, because they just wanted him off his wage books. He's not someone that will benefit them, and paying him £600,000 a week, I mean, that's way too much money for someone who's just sitting there. So they were willing to let him go for free. However, now they've said they're not willing to let him go for free, or even for a small fee, to a Champions League team. And from Bale's point of view, it's hard to see him going to a team that wouldn't be at that level if he's going to stay in Europe. So it's really sort of worrying for him what's going to happen there, because if at the end of the day, if Real Madrid do sell him, it could cost the team 50, 60, 70 million pounds to bring him in, because of the quality of player he is. Then when you also look at those wages, it doesn't look likely that he's going to take a big wage cut. So for any team who's going to be signing him, it'll be an absolutely massive investment, and it's just really worrying now. It could look like he'll end up staying at Madrid this season, and he'll just be like never anywhere near the first team squad. So it's a bit disappointing what he has, what's going to turn out there. Tottenham re-signed Did Poch ever manage a game with Bale in the squad? No, Bale left in, I think it was 2012, 2013. I think it was when Andre Villas-Boas was in charge. So they never had that Poch-Bale link there at all. Bradley saying, Matt, do you think Levy will have a surprise for us on deadline day, just like he did with Rafael van der Vaart a few years ago? I think there is something behind the scenes that we haven't quite heard about yet, and it may be more of a hope than what I think, but there has been a few like this in the last 5 or 6 years. I think 2 years ago, Fernando Llorente, he was apparently on his way to Chelsea, and then out of nowhere he was a Tottenham player, and that turned out really well for us. So I wouldn't rule it out that there is something going on behind the scenes that Levy could surprise us with, but if there is something, I doubt it'll be a big massive signing. It'll probably be another maybe Llorente type signing, a player who's just going to be there as backup. I saw a question there a few minutes ago about Toby Alderweireld. Alderweireld, will he stay or will he go? Who was our backup from SSV? Alderweireld is going to stay at the club this season. Of course, there was that £25 million release clause in his contract that expired 4 days ago now. And while a lot of people are surprised that no team really came in and activated that, I can kind of understand why it happened, because Toby Alderweireld has said openly in the past that he does want to finish his career at Ajax. That's where he wants to go to. It was the last few years, see if he can win a few more things with them, because it's the team he started out with. It is his team. So I think any club that would have come in, have shown any sort of interest or made contact with Tottenham or Alderweireld about a potential move, I think for them, before they went into the negotiation side of things and before they even made an offer, they would have wanted to know whether or not it was something Alderweireld was interested in, because they wouldn't want to waste their time, and they could then quickly move on to another team if he wasn't interested. And I think from Alderweireld's point of view, and from I suppose what is best for Tottenham at the moment, it could be a thing where they've just identified next summer as Alderweireld leaving for free as the best solution for all of us now. So I think there would have been teams who would have been interested and who would have registered their interest, but I don't think it would have amounted to anything because of Alderweireld's reluctance to leave the club this summer. And while it could be disappointing to see a player of his quality and of his potential value to leave the club on a free, I do agree that it could be the best thing for us, because there's all these different parts of the team now that we need to improve this summer, and that may still be improved, I suppose. And centre back isn't a weakness in our team, and I don't think it would have been identified as somewhere that needed to be improved. So the budget just mightn't be there for a centre back, and if we had got £25 million in for him, that's certainly not enough for a first team centre back of a similar quality to replace him. So I think if we do just keep him for this season, he can agree an early contract with Ajax to join them for free next summer. And then when we have a new budget coming through, that's something we can address next summer. And I do think that is the best for all of us at the moment, because we get to keep a fantastic player for the season ahead, and then he'll go for free next summer, and it's what everyone seems to want. Tottenham Reece saying, I feel bad for Levy. He gets all this stick off fans. He tries, and I can tell he loves Tottenham. He even said he needs to invest in the team. Well, I mean, sure, you can see where all this criticism and stick is coming from, because at the end of the day, he's a businessman, and that mightn't be the best way to run a football club. But when you see what he's achieved in his time at the club, like where he's brought us, even in the last 5 or so years, I said it in my last stream as well, when he brought in that Mauricio Pochettino as a manager, we were absolutely furious. Like we were beginning to Louis van Gaal and Frank de Boer, who were at the time, I suppose, had a much better reputation than what they do now. And when he brought in this manager from Southampton who couldn't even speak English, we were all really concerned about what his intentions, what his goals were at the club. But it turned out to be a stroke of genius, and you have to look at how he's invested in the team, in the club, when like getting those training facilities done, getting the stadium done. And as you said, Levy has now said the only place left for him to invest in Tottenham Hotspur is in the squad, and it looks like he will be doing that sooner rather than later. Spurs 13 saying, remember when Willian went to Chelsea at the last minute? Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're in a situation now where that could happen to us again, because when Willian, I think it was from Shakhtar Donetsk, he was playing with, he came over and he was coming to Tottenham for a medical or something, and in the last minute he got a call from Chelsea and he just went there and signed for them straight away. We were in a much worse position then than what we are now. So I think a player now whose kind of negotiations gets to the stage where he's on his way to Tottenham for a medical, I don't think there could be anything that would tempt him to another club. Because as Ndombele said, it was that chat with Mauricio Pochettino that made it 100% clear to him that his future was at Tottenham Hotspur. So I think any player who does get to that stage of negotiation now, because they will meet Pochettino, I think that moment when they meet Pochettino is when the decision will be made. If they say, yeah, I want to play with you, that doesn't seem like a thing that could kind of be changed easily, because of the effect that Pochettino seems to have on these players that he wants to sign. Darren saying, according to Corriere dello Sport, Roma see the 30-year-old's contract running out next June as their joker card, knowing full well Daniel Levy will not want to lose the player for nothing. I don't think there's any interest from Roma anymore, because, I mean, if they are going to make a bid now, you'd imagine it would be more than £25 million, and I think they offered something like 18 or 19 according to a few reports, which Tottenham understandably rejected. And I think an offer Tottenham made, again according to some reports, was that we offered them I think £30 million plus Alderweireld for Nicolo Zaniolo. I think for Ajax, or for Roma, that could have been an offer that I think they should have considered, because it's only a matter of time before Zaniolo leaves, and I don't think they get a much better offer than £30 million plus a really quality first team centre back. But now Zaniolo won't be leaving them this summer, so I think any potential move from Alderweireld to Roma is off, and as I said, I think it'll be a free transfer to Ajax next summer. Bradley saying, maybe Daniel Levy is saving his money for the next transfer window for replacements for Eriksen and Alderweireld if they leave. I mean, that could be the case, but as Pochettino said, they saved a lot of money anyway over the last 18 months, and when you look at that Champions League price when they came in, and this season is going to be massive in terms of the revenue that's going to be coming in from the stadium. Like, I think there was something from the games we played at the stadium last year, they averaged about £2 million match day revenue, which is absolutely insane. So I think there's going to be a lot of income at the club over the next few years. And then when you look at the deal with AIA now to extend the jersey sponsor by another 8 years, it's worth £40 million a season to Tottenham. You have that NFL deal where they're going to be playing at the stadium. Tottenham will make a lot of money from that. And then it's only a matter of time before there's a naming rights deal for the stadium announced. And apparently that is something that's already done, and they're only waiting on an announcement now, but they've already kind of made some financial benefit from that. So I think there's going to be a lot of money in the club over the next couple of years, and I mean, as I've said, it's all about how they invest it and not the amount that they invest. So I'm really excited what will be happening over the next couple of years because of that money that's coming in, and the players that are being identified seem to be really, really good players, and it's not like they're going for, getting a Moussa Sissoko from Newcastle or getting a Kieran Trippier from Burnley. We're getting now the big players that the big teams want, and that's going to be the main difference over the next couple of years. Ishak saying Zaha wants to join Spurs now, and when do you reckon we will sign Lo Celso? I doubt Zaha wants to join Tottenham. He's an Arsenal fan from his childhood, and it looks now like Everton are the most likely to sign him. I don't think he wants to join Tottenham, and as I said, I think Lo Celso, I think that would be this week. And Delboy saying I would sign Zaha. I'm not sure that I would, mainly because of that the price that Crystal Palace are putting on him. Like, I think they want about £80 million for him, and personally I just don't think he's a reliable enough player, a consistent enough player, or even a good enough player to warrant that sort of price tag. And I don't think he's someone that would fit well into our team. So personally I wouldn't like to see him join the club, but I don't think it's going to happen anyway. Now, as for the game ahead, of course we're playing Real Madrid in Munich in the Audi Cup today. Look, as I said before, it's a pre-season game. The result doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm sure we'd like to get to the final and play, I assume, what will be Bayern Munich. They're playing Fenerbahce in the other semi-final later on. I think it's going to be a good game. Of course, both teams are going to rotate a lot, but I feel like Real Madrid will have a bit more quality in that team because, I mean, at the end of the day, they're not really a team who invests much in youth. They just like to bring in players from other teams when they're already developed enough. So I don't think we're going to win tonight, but I'm much more interested in what the performance is going to be like. The system that we're going to play, I think it'll be really interesting because of what happened against Manchester United when we played that diamond in midfield. We were just completely overrun, and effectively it's what cost us the game, I suppose. So I think we will see something more like the 4-2-3-1 that we usually play there. And I'm looking forward to the game because, as I said, there's some players that I'm really looking out for, like Troy Parrott, Jack Rolls, he's someone in the squad as well. I think Harvey White is there too. They're players who did really, really well in Asia, and I'm looking forward to see if they can kind of continue that form into this game, maybe get some time against Inter Milan next week, and hopefully we can see them in the first team for the season ahead, because we've kind of seen already how beneficial and how effective it is when Pochettino gets those young players in and around the first team. Like Harry Winks, I know he wasn't as young as some of these players are, but when he first came into the team, he was, a player who's coming off the bench for the last 15 minutes here, last 20 minutes there, and he wasn't really doing much, but it's that first team experience that has got him to the level that he's at now. Then you even have to look at last season with the likes of Juan Foyth and Oliver Skip, when they weren't great players, but they were coming in and they developed a lot, and they're players I imagine Foyth more so will be in and around that first team this season. So I'm really looking forward to those seeing those young players in action today. Probably their biggest test so far in playing Real Madrid. People asking here about Victor Wanyama. He's still injured, and it's just the same old story for him. I'm not sure what the injury is this time, but he is still injured, and that's why he's not in the squad. And I think that could be a reason why we may see him leave over the next week or so, or certainly in the next year. Because while he is a quality player and he has a lot to offer when he does play in that midfield role, I just don't think he doesn't have the fitness. He's too injury prone, and I mean he's not really offering us much in the grand scheme of things, because he just injured so much, and with that depth now we have in that midfield role, and the kind of fringe players that are there, the other one would mainly be Eric Dyer, and because of the versatility that he offers, being able to play centre back and right back, I think Wanyama, it's only a matter of time before his time in the club comes to an end. And I doubt he's going to get much game time over the next season or so because of those injuries, and because he's never really gets any form going or consistency, because he's just not in the team enough to do that. Jay Spurs here saying Poch will convert Nkudu to a right back. I don't think he will. I think he's looking at Aurier, Kyle Walker-Peters and Juan Foyth for the season ahead in that right back role, and I don't think Nkudu is someone that he has in his future plans, because he was trying to get rid of him this summer and nothing has materialised. So I really doubt that he'll be trying to turn him into a right back this season. If you want to just put into the live chat there your predictions for the game today against Real Madrid, I'll go through a few of them. Personally, as I said, I think it is a game that we will lose, but I'm completely more interested in the performance. I think it might be a 2-3-4-1 win for Real Madrid, because they do have much more, I suppose, strength in their team than what we would have, because we're putting a lot of emphasis on the youth in these pre-season games. So Jay Spurs is saying 3-0. I'm not sure if that's Real Madrid or Spurs. We have more chemistry, so saying 3-0 to Tottenham. David Peter saying, I'm going to be unpopular, but I actually don't like the Dybala signing. I think our squad cohesion is important, and he could potentially be an issue as a superstar with expectations. I suppose there could be some element of truth to that. He may be coming in. I mean, I don't think he will be at this stage, because Juventus are now asking for £100 million. That's something I actually meant to touch on there as well. Juventus are now the favourites to sign Romelu Lukaku from Manchester United, and it is believed that Paulo Dybala will be part of any deal to bring Lukaku to Italy. So it does look like Dybala will end up at Manchester United this summer. As for people saying Inter Milan, they're more likely to complete that deal. Inter have now upped their interest in Roma's Edin Dzeko, so it looks like they've turned their attention elsewhere. I suppose ultimately conceding that they do think Dybala will or Lukaku will end up at Juventus. But you're saying like I do agree with what you're saying, and I do see where you're coming from, that it would affect the squad cohesion, and he may feel like he's bigger than the rest of the team. But I think that's what we need. We need a superstar signing. That seems to be what we're lacking in order to make that massive step into being Europeans elite, into winning things in England. So you have to look at both sides of it. Sure, it could affect us poorly, but I think that's what we're missing. That's how close we are to being one of those big teams personally. So I would like to see a deal like that happening, but I don't think it will be this summer. It's your guy 101 saying 3-1 to Spurs. The Aura Guardian saying 4-1 to Spurs. Manish Shakir saying Real Madrid lost 7-3. He said 7-4. I think it was 7-3 to Atletico Madrid. So that is true. They're not on the best of form, but I mean it's Real Madrid. You never know what team's going to show up, I suppose. Bleak saying 2-1 Madrid because we strongly encourage youth players. It's your guy saying, are you going to do watch along for the Real Madrid match? I'm actually not going to be able to watch the game tonight. I have work, so I'll do a match review maybe later tonight or maybe in the morning, but I won't even get to watch the game myself. David Peters saying, plus I'm not sure that his style of play will translate in the PL. He's very physical, and I'm not sure that would work in the Premiership. If Man United want him, I'd be happy to let him go. It's about Paulo Dybala there. Del Boy saying Serge Aurier is injured from hitting his hand on a table at halftime in African Cup of Nations. Now he has to have surgery on it. That guy is a joke. That's actually in one of the games the Ivory Coast were playing in the African Cup of Nations. I think at halftime Aurier was a sub, and they were a poor performance. I think they were losing, and in a halftime rant in the dressing room, he hit the table. I think he broke his wrist or something, and he does have to have surgery on it now, which kind of just sums up the player he is. Darren saying, what kind of striker is Troy Parrott? Is he similar to Robbie Keane? I don't know if he's similar to Robbie Keane. He has a lot more pace, I suppose, than Robbie Keane ever did, and I think he's just a player who I think is going to try and kind of combine the kind of things that he would see from the likes of Son and Lucas on the pitch, and then Harry Kane as well, because he has that extra pace, that speed, the kind of low centre of gravity that those two players have. So I think with the way he's coming in now and the players he's watching playing up front for Tottenham, I think it could be a really interesting combination of what Son and Lucas offer, and then sort of the more physical aspect of Harry Kane's game. So I don't think we can really say yet what kind of player he is, because there's so much development left to do, and he's so early on in his career. He hasn't quite found the kind of player that he is. But I think it's going to be a really interesting development, and he's a player we should definitely keep an eye on for the future. I don't see how Dybala is better than the players we have. That's coming from Loing Anthony. I think, sorry about the pronunciation there. I don't see how Dybala is better than the players we have. I suppose judging on last season, you wouldn't really assume that he is that great a player. But at the end of the day, you have to realise he's a player who for 3 years he was the first name in the team sheet at Juventus. And in those first 3 years, he did show that he kind of returned that in his numbers with the goals he scored. He scored something like 58 goals in 120 games for Juventus as a kind of attacking midfielder rather than playing in that striker role. So I think he has that. A main thing about him is he has that winning mentality. He's won so much with Juventus that's something that would be good coming into the squad. He knows how to win. I don't think it's going to happen, but if he did sign, I would be over the moon with it. Like, he'd be a massive signing. And I'm a bit disappointed that it has fallen away so quickly, but he would have been an exciting player, and I think it's that type of player, that type of figure, I suppose, that we need to try and sign over the next few years to make that statement, as I said, by that superstar, to make that big step into becoming Europe's elite. It's your guy saying road to 1k is so close. Last time I checked, now is on 954. So if you do want more content like this over the next couple of weeks and match reviews and stuff, if you haven't already subscribed, please do that now. I do a lot of these live streams trying to get your opinions on board, and if you'd like this content as well and you think other people might appreciate it, I'd love if you could share out my videos or my channel. I would try and get to 1,000 as quickly as possible. We're on 955 now. Tottenham Reese saying, Matt, Liverpool always do this when they finish top 2, then the next few seasons they drop massively, then it just repeats. That's definitely been an accurate representation of what's happened with Liverpool over the last 10 or so years. Those few times they've been in those positions, I think the first one was under Benitez. They looked like they were going to win the league and they threw it away. United beat them to it. Then it was under Brendan Rodgers, and of course he was sacked midway through the next season, I think. And now it's happened with Jurgen Klopp. But I think they're at a much, much higher level now than what they ever were at with the likes of Benitez and Rodgers. Not only because of the quality that they have in their team, but that the coaching staff that is there. Jurgen Klopp is 100 times the manager Rodgers ever was, and he's a better manager than Benitez. Maybe not that much, but he is a better manager than Benitez. And the team he has in place now, it's not a team that has like a Suarez who wants to go to Barcelona or a Sterling who wants to go to City. It's a team that seems to be 100% dedicated to what's going on at Liverpool. And I mean, the fact that they picked up 97 points last season and won a Champions League, I don't think that's going to happen to them. I think they will be up there for the next few years, along with Manchester City and hopefully us in a couple of years' time. The Pride of Gothenburg saying, why haven't we gone for Vardy? I don't understand that. He'd be on the bench but still get Premier League and Champions League. Vardy just isn't the type of player that Pochettino wants. In terms of the striker he's looking for, Vardy, he just doesn't really fit into the style of play that we're looking for, and Pochettino wants players under the age of 23. Vardy, I think, is pushing on to 30 now at the moment. And also Vardy, he's too much of a kind of temperamental character. He's too kind of egotistical and all about himself rather than a team. So I think for any reason you could possibly think of, I don't think Jamie Vardy would fit into our team, and I'm not at all surprised we haven't gone for him, and I'm kind of grateful that we haven't, I suppose. David Peters saying, I think squad depth is more important than a superstar. Part of our problem was sheer fatigue at the end of the season because our starting players were knackered. And that's really true. That's something I've said a lot as well over the last few months. That the fact that we didn't make any signings last summer and then all the injuries we had, it was entirely squad depth was what... that's what cost us third place, I think. But it's also... It cost us a lot because we missed out on a lot because of that. But having that superstar in our team is what it's going to take, because you can have like 10 players in a position who are at the level our players are at. They're above average, but they're not yet world class in the majority of our positions. But no matter how many you have, there's no player there that's going to push you on. There's no player that's going to there's no player there with a winning mentality. So I think it would be better to have one superstar and maybe 2 or 3 players of the level that's kind of averaging out in our team at the moment, rather than having 10 players who are good. I mean, I think squad depth, as I said, is so important in order to maybe get to the level where we want to be at the moment, but where we want to push on and become a team that wins trophies consistently, become a force to be reckoned with in Europe and in England and just every competition we play. I think a couple of superstars is what we're missing there personally. We struggle to sustain our style of play for a whole season, so squad depth makes sense to me rather than a marquee signing. I'd rather have 3 more Sissokos than Dybala. I suppose that's where we're disagreeing there. I suppose you'd rather have 3 or 4 players who are above average, who are quality players, rather than one world class player. I suppose I do disagree with that, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to Pochettino and Levy what's going to happen there. Tottenham Reece saying, when Aguero leaves City, they will drop off. Aguero was City's best player ever. I think that is true with some of their players, but Aguero isn't one of them, because I mean, when Guardiola first came in, he tried to sell Aguero. He wanted Gabriel Jesus to be that player who was their starting striker. So I don't think Aguero was that important to City, but I think the likes of maybe we might see a bit now, a company not on the pitch, but in terms of an idol, someone in the dressing room. But for City, I think it's the likes of Fernandinho, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, David Silva even, who are that kind of the spine of that team. And see, they've signed now Rodri in this window, and apparently Guardiola is looking to turn Fernandinho into a centre-back and play Rodri in that midfield role. And I think that's really interesting, because when you look into it, you see they signed Rodri over Kompany. Kompany's the player that's left. So I think Rodri is a much better player than Kompany. So they've gained a better player than they have lost. But in that defensive role, if you're putting Fernandinho over Kompany, I think that role is immediately weakened. And in the midfield, if you're putting Rodri over Fernandinho, I think that's also weakened. So it's really interesting what's going on in City, but I don't think Aguero is that player who is crucial to them, but they do have a few of them there. Darren saying we have 8 or so days and counting. I think it's getting a bit worrying now. It's getting a bit kind of too close to the deadline with only one signing for the season ahead. But as I've said, I'm confident there'll be a few more. I'll be absolutely shocked if that Lo Celso deal doesn't get over the line. And as I said, I think there's 1 or 2 more bubbling under the surface that we could see. Delboy, that question was for you, Matt. Will we actually play our best team today, or will it be another team filled with random youth players? I want to see Ndombele in our best team, not surrounded by players like Giorgio. I suppose it would be good to see our first team in there and see what they can do before the season starts. But I think even looking at the squad that Pochettino has brought, I think it will be a mixture of youth again today, which in pre-season is probably in the long term the best thing that you can do, getting them in around the first team. But for the people sitting down watching the game, we would probably prefer to see the best players playing. But I think that could be more the game we're playing against Inter Milan next week, the 4th of August. I think that might be a game where we see a lot more strength in that team, trying to get it to gel back together before the season opener against Aston Villa. 13th Bunky saying, this is Poch's last season under Levy and Lewis. He won't show it, but Poch is fed up with them. I don't think I'd agree with that. I think Poch and Levy seem to have a very similar outlook on transfers. As I've said, they both want to sign players that will improve the team rather than just buying for the sake of it. And while Pochettino has made some comments that could be seen as a bit worrying, I think they're on the same wavelength in a number of things. And like as Levy said, where else can he now invest in the squad, in the club? What else can he do? It's just the players that he can invest in. So I think Poch and Levy over the next couple of years, that relationship could really improve, and we could really see them working a lot closer together and getting these signings in. So I think Pochettino is in it for the long run, and I definitely don't think he'll be leaving next season. Tottenham Reece saying, we need silverware. I don't care if it's the Audi Cup, it's still a cup. No, it's pre-season cups isn't what we should be aiming for at all. It's the real cups, you know. I mean, we won the International Champions Cup last summer. No one remembers that. Everyone's forgotten about it. It's pre-season. It'll be good if we get to beat teams like Real Madrid and Bayern Munich in pre-season with that youth in and around the side. But that's not a cup that we should be aiming to win. David Peters, I think our biggest issue than any player is either trying to ensure we retain Poch long term, given his comments post Champions League, or start grooming his replacement now. Like I said, I can see where the concern is coming from with Pochettino's future, but I don't think we should be that concerned about him. Like, those comments were a bit worrying, and maybe something we should kind of keep an eye on. But I think he's in it for the long term because of how much he's actually put into the team, like in terms of his time and his effort, because the money hasn't been there yet. So the amount that he's put into the team, I think for him it would just be too much of a sacrifice for him to just walk away from it now because of one or two little disagreements over transfers. I really, really think he is in it for the long term. And like he said after that Champions League that was the first 5 years done, and he's now looking on to the next 5 years. So I think the fact that he's started this next stage of the club, I don't think he's someone who's going to give up in that first 5 years unless things start to go horribly wrong. So I think at the moment I would see him at the club for the next 5 years, and I may be mad, I may be too optimistic, but I think because he has now started this next stage of what he wants to do with the club, I think that's what he's going to see that through, and maybe in 5 years he will leave, or if things start to go a bit wrong, if he loses the spine of the team, all these different things. I think then if a team comes in for him, I think then we might see him leave. But at the moment, I would think for the next 5 years he's there. Delboy saying, think Rose will start today. I don't know if he'll start, but I really do think we'll see him in that game. Just kind of, I suppose, as another showing that he is going to be in the team for the season ahead. Darren saying, I would give Eriksen and Alderweireld until the weekend or sell them, as they will go for nothing next year. I think Alderweireld will go for free next year, and that's something I'm fully happy to accept because of what he will offer for the season going forward. As I've said, we can then reinvest in a centre back next summer rather than having to deal with that this year. But no, I think Eriksen will sign a new contract. Even if he is going to leave next season, I think he will sign a new contract just to retain that value. I suppose give something back to Tottenham. George saying, Poch is one of the best managers in the world and the best at promoting youth, and I think he is the best in terms of what he's achieved at Tottenham, because if you look at like the big managers, you've Guardiola, you've Mourinho, you've Ancelotti, they've all won so much and they've all achieved so much, but you have to look at the amount of money they had to do that. Like if you give Pochettino the money that Guardiola has had at Manchester City, he'd win you everything. Without a shadow of a doubt, he would win absolutely everything there is to win. But if you give Guardiola the money and what Pochettino has had at Tottenham, coming in that Europa League side, I can't see Guardiola doing much with it, because he depends so much on buying players that suit him rather than moulding players into what he wants. I think when you look at the whole thing as in the grand scheme of things, I think Pochettino is a better player manager. He's a better squad manager than what Guardiola, Mourinho, Ancelotti are. But at the end of the day, managing is about winning, and I suppose they've done that more than Pochettino has. Joshua Humphreys here saying, starting 11, Gaza, Georgiou, Jan Toby, Kyle Walker-Peters, Winks Sissoko and Dembele, Sonny, Kane, Eriksen. I suppose that'd be more of the 4-1-2-1-2 that we saw against Manchester United, but I mean, look, might as well try it out again. It's a pre-season game. What have we got to lose? But it's really hard to predict a pre-season starting 11 because absolutely anything can happen. Ron Swanson saying, would you take Bale back? I'd take Bale back, but not for the money that we would have to spend on him, because as I've said now, Sky Sports said this morning, it was about 12:30, I think, about an hour ago now, they said Real Madrid are still looking to sell Bale, but they're not going to let him go to a Champions League opponent for free. So they are for a small fee, so they might be looking for upwards of £50 million. And you look at the fact he's on £600,000 a week. I think it's way too big of an investment in a player who's just not going to give us much in the long term. And he's so injury prone as well. So I would take Bale back, but just not for the money that we would need to spend at the moment. The Aura Guardian saying the only other manager in world football I would love to see at Spurs is Nagelsmann at RB Leipzig. Other than that, anything else would be a humongous downgrade. Now I don't know much about him, but I think he's the manager that kind of brought him up from the second division in Germany and got him into Champions League football. But right now, if I had to pick a replacement for Pochettino, I would go Nuno Espirito Santo from Wolves, because what he's achieved there is similar to Pochettino. It's nothing short of a miracle. Like, he came into that team, I think they'd just been promoted back to the Championship, and it might have been Paul Lambert who was in charge there, left for whatever reasons. And I think he's that similar outlook where he's only going to invest when he can improve the squad. And the signings that he's made are absolutely amazing for a team who just came up into the Premier League. And he got Raul Jimenez in on loan, he got Leander Dendoncker, he got Rui Patricio from Sporting Lisbon for free, which is an unbelievable signing. I love to see Espirito Santo because he has that similar kind of play. He likes to invest in youth. He really, really cares about the players of the club rather than just the team, I suppose. So right now, if I had to pick a replacement for Pochettino, it would probably be Nuno Espirito Santo. But I can see where you're coming from with Nagelsmann. Darren saying Bale is a money grabber, so forget him. I prefer Zaha. J Ho saying Matt, if Potter were to leave, the only manager who I think we should get would be Eric Ten Hag. Actually, that's a great shout. I forgot about him there. I'd still kind of lean towards Espirito Santo, but Eric Ten Hag, so what he's done at Ajax, he wouldn't be a bad manager, I suppose, to bring in. Tottenham Reese saying if Santo comes in to manage Tottenham, our home team will turn Portuguese. Del Boy here saying, I'm not sure who's that about, but saying he's good but not the best ever player. Finn is saying Real Betis are anxious about sending Lo Celso to Spurs. I suppose, he's one of their best players that they're letting go, but I think they're trying to squeeze every last pound that they can get out of Daniel Levy, and it's just not going to work because Levy is such a good negotiator. I think they are just trying to do their best, and I think we are going to get him eventually. Niall Gibbons, it should have been me. It should have been me, that's all I'll say. Tottenham Re saying, I would say Moussa Dembele is an absolute Spurs legend. I wouldn't go as far as to say he's a legend, but he's a great player, and if it wasn't for the injuries, he would have been a massive player for us. Maybe we wouldn't have needed someone like Ndombele. I wouldn't go so far as to say he's a legend, but he's someone that was unbelievable when he was at the club, and he gave so much to the club. But his performance was just outstanding, and was probably the main part of that big team that we had in the last season at White Hart Lane, finishing second in the Premier League. Ron Swanson saying, now down to the most important question, who's the best looking Tottenham player? I'll leave you to answer that one in the chat there. George saying Harry Kane is a legend. Definitely, he's I suppose what he's achieved coming through the system like that, he looks like someone who will be at the team for a long time, and I'm absolutely delighted that he is someone who seems to be so invested in the project at Tottenham, and it's really exciting to have a player like him. And I would probably put him into that legend category already because of those reasons, and because you can kind of see he's going to be there for so long, and it does feel like only a matter of time before he does win something with the club. Tottenham Reese saying Dele Alli will go down as a legend if he lives up to his potential. Niall Gibbons saying Matt, you're a legend, big loss to the team, keep the videos coming. Would you take Bale back and lower wages? Thanks, Niall. Big loss, I know. I probably would take Bale back and lower wages, but it seems like it's going to be too big of a wage cut for us to actually get him in. At the end of the day, no matter what's going on at Real Madrid, and the fact that he's not getting that game time, he is, I suppose, was one of the best players in the world, and he still has that quality, and he still has a lot to offer to whatever team does get him. But for £600,000 a week, it's a no-brainer. Like, we don't want him at all. TGP889 saying, also there's 9 days left of the window. I'm getting really nervous. I don't think we're at the stage now where we need to get nervous. I'm a bit apprehensive as to the fact that we don't seem to be bringing in the amount of signings we were hoping to bring in. But I wouldn't be getting worried yet. I think there's still some things that we're going to see happening. Joshua Humphrey saying, when do you reckon we'll sign Lo Celso? I think it's going to be this week when that deal gets done. You saw that Instagram post he put up yesterday saying thanks for everything to one of his coaches there. I think it will be this week. I imagine it'd be somewhere in between 50 and 60 million pounds, which I'd be delighted with. I mean, he's a good quality player in today's market. Maybe that is a great price to get him for. J Spurs saying, Matt, should we be fearing Chelsea as they have good depth for the various youth players they have? I think top four is going to be much harder this season. I don't think we should be fearing Chelsea. I mean, they've just lost the best player, without a shadow of a doubt, their best player of the team, who's the player who's carrying them forward. And I know Pulisic could be coming in playing in that similar position, but I don't think he definitely doesn't have the quality. So I think because Chelsea are going to be putting a lot of dependence on youth this season, and with Lampard coming in, those players like Mason Mount and Fikayo Tomori, who he had at Derby, I think they're going to get a lot of game time. So I don't think Chelsea are a team we should fear this season, and I do think we'll comfortably get into the top four. J Ho saying, Matt, the worry isn't from whether we sign someone or not, it's the fact that players come in late and miss pre-season. And that is a big part of it. Like, we do need those players in for pre-season and getting them in as quickly as possible, integrating them into the team. But I mean, we're past that stage now, and what we just need now is just get the deals done. Forget about the pre-season, because obviously that can't happen now. So right now we need to just focus on getting the deals done and kind of forget about that pre-season and hope we can get the players in as quickly as possible now and maybe have them against Inter next week. Niall saying, it's Toby clause gone, can't understand why he's not been snapped up, would love him at United. Yeah, that clause expired 4 days ago, I think. It was, of course, £25 million, that's over now. I was really surprised that a lot of teams didn't come in for him, but especially Manchester United, because I mean, they have that kind of worry at centre back now, and I know they have players like Bailly and Lindelof, but in terms of depth with Smalling, Jones and Rojo, they don't have quality there at all. So I'm really surprised United didn't come in for him, and instead it looks like they're going to be spending almost £80 million on Harry Maguire. So I think he would have been a great addition for United, but I mean, I'm not complaining that he's stayed with us for this season. Ishak saying, I think Kane should play in the centre attacking mid position and Son and Lucas as the two up front. No, I do think Kane it's his best position up front. I mean, you see it a lot from him. He likes to drop deep to pick up possession, and he does I suppose he does offer something in terms of his passing abilities and his long range shots. But I think a player of his quality who scores as much as he does, I don't think we should take that risk of trying him out in centre attacking mid. Just leave him where he is, where we know he can do well, and go from there. Given Gazaniga's performance against Man United, should we be looking for a new understudy for Lloris? Definitely not. No, I mean, it's one pre-season performance. You can't read too much into it at all. And when he deputised for Hugo Lloris last season, he was absolutely outstanding. I mean, the first 7 games that he played, I think we won them all, and he had some really good saves, like that League Cup game against Arsenal when we beat them at the Emirates. He was one of the best players on the pitch. He's a really, really good player, and I don't think we should be worried about him being second to Hugo Lloris. Owen saying, keep Rose and try for Sessegnon on a free, providing he does not renew contract at Fulham. I suppose that's kind of look like what's happening at the moment. We are going to keep Rose this season and revisit that Sessegnon deal next season. I don't think he's going to join this window. J Spurs saying, Matt, would we have 3 left backs, Sess, Rose and Davis? As I said there, no, I think it's going to be just Rose and Davis this season. I think the Sessegnon deal is, unfortunately, it looks to have fallen through, but it's definitely something that will be revisited next season. Joshua saying, where do you reckon Dybala will be at the start of the season? Well, not Tottenham, first of all. I don't know, because we've obviously heard from him that he does want to stay at Juventus and he's willing to fight for his place. But if Juventus keep trying to push through this move for Lukaku with Dybala going the other way, it's only a matter of time before Dybala kind of gets the point and the feeling, and he's kind of realises he's not going to get into the team no matter what. So I think if Juventus, until the last day of the window, keep trying to push this move through, I think it will be United. But if this is something that kind of dies down, I don't think Juventus will sell him, because they want €100 million for him, and that's way too much for, I suppose, a player who hasn't shown that much quality over the last year or so. He's someone who's trying to revitalise his career. So I suppose at the moment I would say Juventus maybe. Bradley saying, Matt, do you think we should hijack the Bruno Fernandes deal from Manchester United? I don't think we should. I know a player who scored 32 goals last season, but it was in the Portuguese league, and they're asking for a lot of money for him. It doesn't look like he's going to be going to United anyway. But I think Giovanni Lo Celso will be a better option than Fernandes, and I don't think we can get the two of them done. So I would say no. Let's focus on Lo Celso. Tottenham Racing, we should play Davis more. At first I thought he was the next Bale, Welsh left back coming from Southampton, but it just didn't work out. He came from Swansea, but I kind of get your point. I think there will be a lot of rotation in those fullback positions next season, specifically left back. I think Davis will get a lot more game time. The fact that he has signed that 5-year contract, it is a good sign for him, I suppose, of how much he's going to be in the team going forward. Owen saying, Rose is our best fullback by a mile. He's just had an incredible season, especially in Champions League. Wears his heart on his sleeve and gives his all and shows passion for the club. If sold, I'd be annoyed. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I did not for a second want Danny Rose to leave. He's someone who, as you said, he wears his heart on his sleeve and he gives his absolute all every time he's on the pitch. And I'm delighted now that it looks like he will be staying at the club. And I suppose if I had to pick between Rose and Sessegnon, I'd say Danny Rose. So while I would like to have seen Sessegnon come in, it's not the end of the world if we are getting to keep Danny Rose instead of him. Darren saying, I think if we end up as Ndombele as our only signing, I think Poch will go. As I said, I don't think he'll go. I think he's in it at least for the next 5 years. But I mean, when you look at the comments he's made, we can't really be too we can't guarantee, I suppose, that he's going to stay, and we can't get too drawn into the fact that he might be there for the next 5 years. But I don't think Ndombele would be our only signing. Now, as I said, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, I do a lot of these interactive live streams as much as I can. I'm going to be doing a lot over the next week or so as the window draws to a close. I also do kind of breaking news transfer videos as well, and I do in-depth match reviews whenever we play. So if you do want more content like that, if you haven't already subscribed, please do that now. And if you like my content and you think other people could benefit from it, I'd appreciate if you could share out my videos on my channel. I'm going to be doing a giveaway when I get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm about 45 away now. I'll be giving out a free Tottenham jersey, so if you want to share out the channel, try and get there as soon as possible, and I get to give away a free jersey. So I'll be trying to do another live stream tomorrow, kind of the same thing, taking your questions and stuff and going through the latest transfer news that we've seen. But for today, that's all I have time for. Thanks for watching.